Welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm excited to have a fellow realtor with me. This is the first conversation we're really having in depth on really specifically real estate as a career. Before we get started, Ned, I just want to make a quick announcement. Thanks to David and Ginger over at Really Designs. The podcast now has merchandise, so if you're interested in it, I'll have it playing down at the bottom of the screen for a little bit. It's just kind of a plug for them. They are Navy veterans, great people to work with, and this merchandise kind of helps the mission continue with the podcast here, providing great information, education, and tips and tricks and all that stuff for all the veteran and military community. So we'll bring Sam in. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, I'm excited to have a conversation with somebody finally who shares similar passions as I do, because you as a veteran have a passion for helping the veteran community, and you're also a realtor. We have both of those things in common, so this is really exciting to kind of talk to you about your thoughts and opinions on real estate as a career, right? I mean, there's a transition, and we see a lot of people come into this industry. So before we get into the real estate stuff, tell us a little bit about who you are, what your military journey was, and what got you, to where you're at today.
Well, my name is Sam Silver. I'm in Santa Clarita, California, located just LA/Ventura County areas. So if you think about Hollywood, we're located about maybe an hour from Hollywood. And if you think about the beach, maybe about an hour from the beach, like Malibu and Zuma. I was showing some properties out there in Marina Del Rey. It only took me about an hour to get out there. So not too bad. So I'm centrally located in Southern California. I was in the Army, and I went in the military right after high school. And actually, my mom had to sign me in the delayed entry program because I wasn't old enough at that time. I was 17 years old. So it broke her heart. And then,
Doesn't it break every mom's heart, though?
Oh my gosh!
I don't care
yes.
how old you are. Every mom, I think, has those feelings in her gut.
Absolutely. And then I broke her heart again because I left for basic training on her birthday.
I hope you made it up to her at some point in time somehow.
I'm always making up for her. I mean,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you got a lifetime to do that, right?
Absolutely. She's great. And so I went in high school, and I went to basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And I went to my AIT was Fort Huachuca, Arizona. So my training was going to be military intelligence, and I did that. I went through class, and unfortunately, in the process, I was experiencing pains in my knees. I would go to sick call a lot, and unfortunately, they don't think you're serious when you go to sick call. They think you're
especially
faking.
when you're in that training pipeline. Yeah, they think that you're trying to get out of something or take it easy or something like that.
Well, unfortunately, it was I had developed a condition called chondromalacia, which is a deterioration of the cartilage in the kneecap. So, as you know, running on the hard pavement, jumping, getting in the prone positions, all of those things just exasperated it. So I did my basic training, I did my AIT, and all along I was telling my drill sergeants, I'm in pain. I mean, there's something going on here. I never had pain in high school. I was in a marching band, not real strenuous, but but I did some track, but I never suffered from anything. So there shouldn't have been any reason why I had any issues. So my time was cut short, unfortunately. And then I got out, and I didn't want the military to operate on my knees. So
that's understandable.
So my parents had a certain amount of coverage on their medical insurance. So when I got out, I went and I had a civilian doctor do the surgery on my knees, and of course I was couch surfing on their couch for a while, and did what I needed to do. Then I decided to get into sales because sales is a great transition for prior military because you got the responsibilities, you know how to goal set, you know how to do the things that a lot of people don't. That's why military people or prior military people do so well in sales, not only just real estate, but they do really well in sales.
Absolutely, yeah, and it seems like a lot of people get into it. Um, our industry, I guess I'll throw around a number. I believe our industry is sitting somewhere between 40 and maybe 45% male. And we know a lot of veterans. I mean, I'm not saying all veterans are male. Obviously, we know that's not true. But I see a lot of the guys that come into the industry, a lot of them do have either military, police, or first responder, firefighter, EMT kind of experience. It's very strange that they kind of, a lot of the guys that get in seem to have one of those backgrounds. And I think that there's a lot of things to be said, and I'm not going to kind of jump right into those questions yet, but I think there's something to be said for those career choices, those life choices, and some of the skills and stuff that you pick up along the way doing that do translate. And it's not some, a lot of times they're not maybe skills that you would think that translate, but something does, and it gets people in this industry for one reason or another.
I agree, and I think it has a lot to do with structure. You have structure in the military. You have to create structure in real estate. Otherwise, you're out of business. Um,
Very true. Very true. Yeah, you
so,
have to have a lot of patience and structure, and really stick to it.
and the giving. People that are in the military, generally when they're out, they still have the giving heart. They still have the servant mentality. So doing that and being able to help somebody find their first house. I mean, that's just the most incredible feeling in the world. I mean, even if they didn't give you a paycheck, just the incredible feeling in the families. They give you hugs. I mean, even though COVID, they still give you hugs. But the it there's nothing like it. And you can relate, Keith. Handing the keys to a brand new homeowner that maybe didn't know that they can afford a home, maybe didn't have the money to afford the home, and that's why there's programs out there to help, not only down payment assistance, but there's realtor credits. There's all sorts of really great programs out there, and all states have them. And then there's government programs, and of course, being military, you get to zero down, just for serving. So, there's a lot of veterans out there that don't understand what their benefits are, and I try to, or correction, I educate. I educate. There's no trying. I educate. I go out there and I meet people, and when I find out they're veterans or any of the hero uh, occupations, I make sure that they are educated on what their rights are, because there's
There
a
is a
lot of them.
there's a huge lack of education, unfortunately, about these kind of things. And I know you're doing it. I'm doing it. There are people doing it. There's great websites out there.
Hmm.
And I wasn't going to go kind of down the lone route, but since we're there and it's a show for
No
veterans and
problem.
military, I think it's a very daunting thing for a lot of people to look at if they've never bought a house, or maybe they grew up, and their parents had never owned a house, to look at the whole process as just this big, ugly, scary process. As like, oh, I can't do that. I don't have credit. I don't know what the process is. I don't know where to start. I mean, a million things can go through your mind. But if you're a veteran, or you take advantage of that VA loan, call your lender, talk to them, see what you're qualified for, and see what you can do, because in probably 95% of cases, depending where we're at in this country, 95% of the time, you're going to save money by being a homeowner versus a renter.
That's true. Very true.
I can't say 100% of the time, but probably 95% of the time. There might be a few weird cases out there where you wouldn't, or unique situations, but take advantage of it. Save yourself the money. Use what you've earned, and you can't beat zero down. And if you're
Zero down.
disabled, you don't have the funding fee. I mean, there's so many different great things about it. You got to take advantage of it. Don't get stuck on this in this trap of it's this big ugly thing I don't quite understand. If you don't understand it, call your lender, find an agent, talk to your agent about it.
Talk
Get
to
yourself
Keith.
educated. Yeah.
Call Sam. And we have connections all the way across the country. I mean, if we can't help you, we have, how many agents across the country? I got 60,000 plus agents in my brokerage now. We just opened into Germany. We're now in Germany. EXP just expanded to Germany. So I think we're going to go to. I know we're going to Germany. I think we're looking in Japan right now. So we have agents across the world and the country. So if you need anything, get a hold of Keith, get a hold of me, get a hold of anybody that you trust, that cares, really cares, and doesn't have commission breath. We
That's a good one. I've never heard that before, but I know exactly where you're going with that commission breath.
if somebody's forcing you to do something you don't want to do, that's commission breath. I've talked more people out of houses than into houses because it's like, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want to pay a Melrose? No, I don't want to pay a Melrose. Well, we don't want this house because there's a Melrose here. And all those things. We're consultants. We're there to make sure that you're happy. It doesn't do us any good to get you in a house. First of all, it doesn't do any good for us to get you in a house at your house poor. You got to be able to go out. You got to be able to have time with your family. You got to be able to eat. So our goal and all my lenders are always trying to make sure that can you afford this, and what is your monthly payment comfort? How much do you want to pay per month? And a lot of times we can back it in. So you say I'm okay with 3,000 California. It's about $3,000 a month for a lot of the houses. You back it in from I'm comfortable with $3,000 a month. Okay, great. So then you back it in to figure out how much of a house you can afford for that. So that helps us out too. So if you're like, I'm paying an apartment rent. How much you paying for apartment rent? What does the apartment rent in your areas go for, Keith?
3-bedroom, 1,000 square foot home, single family home.
Mm-hmm.
Probably about 1,000.
Okay,
950 to 1,000. A 2-bedroom apartment, depending on where it's at, anywhere from 550 to 750 maybe.
Okay, so if you took the amount that they're paying in rent, if you took that and that was affordable, you can actually take that money and say, you know what, I want to own a house. Why am I paying my landlord's rent? Why not pay mine?
I have seen 2-bedroom, very dated apartments where people are paying, $700, $800, $850 a month for, and that's less than my mortgage on my house.
And it's crazy.
I've got a 1960 brick ranch, 1,000 square feet. Nothing too big, too fancy. It's enough for us and fits our needs. And I've seen people renting much less square footage and condition wise than what I pay for mine. And that's just that perfect example of you can do more with your money. You might as well pay the bank and start building a little bit of equity here and there versus putting it else in somebody else's pocket.
Especially there's all sorts of tax advantages too. I don't play a tax person on TV, and I don't play tax person on Clubhouse.
Yeah,
But
maybe we should start with all the disclosures first.
Yes,
for
go.
different companies. We're not attorneys. We're not tax professionals. I think, does that cover it all?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But we're in it for the right reason. Keith does these Battle Buddy podcasts to inform you, to make sure that you understand what your rights as a veteran are, and his heart is in the right place. So, that's important. Look at what he's doing. Look at the people that he's had on the show, how they get back, and most of the agents, or actually most of the people on Clubhouse that we've experienced connections with, are so giving, are so loving, are so caring, and they're out there just to make sure people are taken care of. So if you go through, I've always been taught that if you do your business in the right way and you love what you do, then you'll never work a day in your life. And my grandfather was a salesman until he died. And nobody ever had a bad word to say about him. And they like asked to buy his whatever he was selling. They asked to buy it because he was such a nice person and so giving and loving, and just wanted to know about you. How can I help you? And that's what we need to do and focus on is the people that, it's not my money. You're buying a house. It's not my money. My job is to make sure that you're informed and educated and you do the right thing for you and your family.
That carries a lot of weight as a realtor to know that it's not our money. It's, like you said, it's your money. It's your $100,000 or your $1,000,000, whatever. big
Absolutely.
price difference between our markets, but that's money that you're going to be spending for the next 15 years, 30 years, whatever, plus interest to the bank to own something. It is not a small purchase. In
No.
most people's lives, it's the biggest purchase you're ever going to make. Cars may be very quickly approaching that. I mean, I've seen some $100,000 Suburbans, which is blow my mind. I've often said if I'm going to spend that much on a car, I better be able to sleep in it and bathe in it.
I was going to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say you got to be able to live in it if it's $100,000.
Yeah, and I don't think them Suburbans are quite big enough for my family of four. But
No.
yeah, we got we have to take this job very seriously because it's other people's money, it's other people's net worth, it's generational net worth that's really in our hands. And I think that's another thing that a lot of veterans really take a lot of pride in is we have pride and we take care of each other, and we're from diverse backgrounds and we're used to working with diverse people, and it gives us a mission, it gives us pride in knowing that we're taking care of people, because that's what we're trained to do from day one, is take care of your battle buddy, right? And that's kind of, I mean, that's how I've always framed my business, is every client, veteran or not, is, I guess you could say, a battle buddy. My job is to take care of them the best I can and advise them. And I've always had this view of painting a picture, because you talked about how much you can afford and things like that. And I always tell people you need to have a budget, right? Because the lender may give you a dollar amount that technically works. You can technically afford it, but it doesn't mean that you should, right? And you should know where you're comfortable, because let's just say it's $100,000. You're comfortable with the payment on a $100,000 home, but you find one for 105. The bank says you can do 120. And I'm probably blowing your mind with these figures here in the Midwest, but
No problem.
just because the bank says you can do 120 and you technically can, but your comfort zone is 100, 105 may not be that big of a stretch. But at the end of the day, at least you have the full picture, and you can make that educated decision, because that's what you do throughout the whole real estate transaction. You're making an educated decision on what you're going to offer, conditions, closing date, inspections, all that, and that's our job, is to educate so you can make the educated decision
And walk through a
as the
process.
consumer. Yep. So, but
I like to.
ahead.
Sorry. I like to equate purchasing a house with when you're taking an airplane flight, right? You're taking an airplane flight. You sit down, you buckle up. The person shows you what can happen if you have a crash, right? They're preparing you for if something goes wrong. I equate myself with pilot. I'm in the front. I'm trying to make sure that you and your family land safely, right? It's a great analogy. You want to land safely. Now there's gonna be some clouds. Sometimes we're gonna hit some bumpy roads. All transactions are not the same.
No, they are definitely not. The ones you
Because
think are going to be easy are not. The ones
yes,
that seem like they're going to have all kinds of hurdles are for some reason going to run way smoother than you ever expected.
So turbulence. So like in a plane, you're going to have some turbulence, and you can't predict a turbulence. But when a turbulence happens, what our job is to be your advisor or your fiduciary and help you to understand what the turbulence is, help you understand your options, and land you safely. So just being a pilot of a plane, you think about, you're having your drink, you're eating your food, you're doing whatever you're putting your mask on nowadays. Uh, but that being said, you don't see a lot of what the pilot deals with. And you know what? To tell you the truth, I wouldn't want to see what the pilot deals with because I'm sure there's some
Absolutely.
pretty ugly things out there. So sometimes I tell people, if you don't hear from me, this is good news. This is good news. If you don't hear from me, I'll communicate with you every week just to make sure we're on course and we're not bumping into clouds or there's no planes in the horizon or anything like that. So that way we know we're going to land safely.
I,
So
I always tell people, I was like, assume your closing's in 4 weeks or 6 weeks, something like that. I said, you're going to have a lot of action right up front. A lot of stuff is going to happen. The negotiations, the setting up of inspections, attending the inspections, negotiating repairs, all that stuff's going to happen right up front. Your loan application. And then on the back end, right? You're getting your closing disclosure, you're getting ready for closing, you're doing your final walkthroughs, you're packing, you're moving. I always tell my clients there's going to be this weird week, maybe 2 weeks if it's 6 weeks. You're going to have this weird period where you kind of hit your groove, like all those busy things are over, and you're kind of hitting your groove on packing, and it seems like nothing's happening.
yep.
But it is. It's happening back on the back end with the loan, and they're processing all that stuff and doing all that paperwork. It's happening, but I always try to forewarn people. There's going to be that time period where you're just going to like wake up one day on a Tuesday morning and you're going to be like, I haven't heard from my agent in 3 or 4 days. I haven't heard from the title company. I haven't heard from the lender, and you're going to be kind of freaking out. And I always try to set that expectation. Things are happening.
That's true.
About that same time that you have that thought is when I'm going to be checking on you. You doing okay? You packing? You getting everything ready? But there's that weird, unnatural spot.
It's like a it's like a it's like a silent pause. It's like a silent pause. All of a sudden there's a silent pause. But the silent pause is sometimes good.
Yes.
And actually most of the time a silent pause is good because it lets you collect your thoughts.
Well, the last thing you want at that point in time is the bank to be calling you for additional
Exactly.
documents or problems, right? So you want it to be quiet.
Exactly.
You want them just dotting their I's and crossing their T's, right there finishing the paperwork. So
Absolutely, and a lot of people don't know about that. A lot of people don't know about that. So absolutely, I think that's a great way of doing it. Saying that you have that 21 days, you have that 17 days first, and then you have that 21 days for the next step, and then we're there. So that you got to get the earnest money deposit to the person if you're purchasing. Well, I mean, on both sides, the earnest money deposit has to come to you as the buying or as a selling agent, and the earnest money's got to come out of your client's pocket as the buyer's agent. So that way, that allows escrow to happen. But nothing happens without that money.
Yeah. there's a lot of spots in the whole transaction where nothing. You just have to hit that checkpoint. You have to mark that off the list for things to just kind of move forward. But that's what we're for as realtors is to manage all that for you. So all you have to do is just do the things we tell you to do, give the bank what they need, and pack your stuff.
and realize we're the professionals. We do this every day, and don't listen to your friends, and don't listen to your family, because Uncle Joe sold a house 20 years ago. A lot changes every year in real estate. We're in classes constantly with the legal changes, with the things that we have to know about, because people want to sue. And who are they going to sue? They're not going to sue you. They're going to come after us. So knowing these things, every year we have new documents that we have to know about. Every week I'm in contracts class because I want to know the little minutia, the little checkbox that maybe you forgot about somewhere in the process. When you do this for a while, sometimes that happens. So I am always updating my knowledge, and as you get good at this, you still, there's still things that you can forget. So every week I'm in contracts class with my mentees because I want to make sure that the mistake that they make is not going to cause my brokers their license, because that could happen. So,
Yeah.
it's very litigious. So remember that your agent, your realtor, is there to protect you from the lawyer that's hanging around the corner waiting to sue somebody for something that, you know, they say happened and doesn't. So,
There's
and
lawyers out there for that, just like there's lawyers out there for after that fender bender.
exactly.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, 16 years. I've never been sued. I've never had to go into court. So, 16 years of doing this and not having that happen, I think I've done pretty good with protecting my clients.
That's definitely a darn good sign. So let's transition to a career.
Absolutely.
So
Great.
I think we've definitely given some great advice to those looking to buy or sell. But this is a career, like we kind of started off with, is not uncommon for military members and first responders to get into. So what kind of mindset shift do you think somebody has to go through to be successful in this career?
The first thing is to realize that this is a business. This is a business. A lot of people get into real estate because they want the freedoms. Freedoms. It's great to have the freedoms. However, if you're not doing something every day, you're out of business. If you don't have a buyer you're showing, if you don't have a house you're selling, you're out of business. So every day you have to do something to be in business. This is a business. So, like any other business out there, you have profits and loss. You have, hopefully, you pay your quarterlies so that way the government doesn't come after you somewhere down the line. It's a business. You need to get an LLC or a DBA or one of those to protect your business. It's a business. You have to have structure. You need to have goals. If somebody came into real estate and didn't know what they were doing, first of all, visit homes for sale. Visit homes for sale. If you don't know what is going on in your market,
You
you're,
don't know
you're
anything.
you don't know anything. Your client knows more than you. If
Yes,
you
they do,
don't,
because they have been spending hours, especially in this market where
yeah.
this is going to date this episode in the future, but where we have a hot market like we do right now. Buyers are on, I'd say, usually more than one or two
Oh,
platforms,
they're jumping
right?
from one to
And
another.
so,
So
yeah,
if you
they
get
know
a lead,
everything.
if you get a lead, if you don't jump on that lead instantly, they've already gotten to another website where, of course, they're going to maybe put their information in and get called by 20 agents.
And it's going to happen
So,
every time they do it, and it's happening every time they do it for the 2 or 3 months before they even make the first move to talk to somebody
hmm
or a lender. So they've got a bunch of agents trying to reach out to them.
hmm
They've seen the properties that have come on the market. They've seen them go off the market, and in some cases, on some websites, you'll see the sold data, and so they know what they're
hmm
selling for. And so
hmm
they already know, if they've been watching a market for 2 or 3 months. If you're an agent and you're not watching your market, they're ahead
what
of
do
the
you
curve.
what are you doing in
Right?
business?
What you're providing them at that point in time is access to the homes and somebody to help them through the transaction.
But
But
that's
they
not a
already but they already have the information. I mean, they
but
already
that's
know what
not a
they're going to offer a home.
fiduciary. That's not a
Exactly.
fiduciary. The fiduciary, the way we can survive in this crazy touch this, buy this, instant gratification, the way we can survive as realtors in this environment is to help our clients to weed through all the rigmarole, weed through all the gobbledygook, weed through everything that they're seeing on the news channels, that we can go through that. We can weed through that. We could sift through the garbage for them. Because, like Facebook, do you believe everything that's on Facebook? I hope you don't.
I definitely do not. I don't believe half the stuff I see on the internet. It's got
So,
to, it's got to look like it comes from a pretty legit source for me to believe it.
exactly. And, you got all these companies that are out there saying, click here to sell your house to us. What they don't know, and Keith can verify this, what they don't know is they're adding something called a convenience fee on top of whatever they're going to give you for your house. It's called a convenience fee. It could be 7 to 12% on top of whatever their fees are. It's called a convenience fee. They come with this convenience fee because they want you to think that selling your house to them is easy. However, it is not like they say. First of all, you still have to go through documentation. You still have to go through all the legal stuff. You still have to go all through all those things. You still have to go through that. However, they come in and make people think that, oh, press a button, sell your house, you get cash. Yeah, but
it's going to be in your bank account tomorrow, but it's not.
it's
And
not.
they're probably not going to give you anywhere near fair market value. And then they're going to probably, without playing attorney here, they're probably going to have something drafted in their contract that says if they find certain things, they're going to back out.
Yep.
Such as termites or other wood destroying insects, or material structural damage, or if they find that there's massive liens on the property. Maybe you're just really not good at mowing your lawn, and the city's been mowing it for the last 5 years. At least in my area, I mean, it could it could be $100, $125 every time they come mow, and they come
it's crazy.
twice a month, and I've seen liens on properties $15,000 for
Easily
mowing over the years.
Easily, homeowners association liens come in first position. So if you have a housing tract that has homeowners association, if you see a house out there that is looks like the weeds are overgrowing, call me, call Keith, let us know, because these are houses that are eventually going to go into foreclosure, and they're going to take the value of your home in the homeowners association down, because there's going to be homeowners association fees that are not going to be paid. Therefore, the HOA or homeowners association has to pass the buck to somebody, and that's you if you live in that homeowners association. So, warning for HOAs.
I must admit, I've been part of my HOA for about 6 or 7 years, and I can tell you, and we have very, very cheap dues. They're like $60 a year, but we have some people that are behind hundreds of dollars. We had somebody that was behind almost $2,000 at one point.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Never paid, and it's $60, and we have a lake. But anyway, that's.
I'm coming your way.
That's the big head scratcher. It's like that's $60 over 10 years. It's only $600 to have lake rights. Your home
no kidding.
should appreciate
Wow.
in value way more than that $600 over 10 years. And I've had people. I was president for a while. I had somebody complain to me that it wasn't worth the $60. It's useless, and why should I have to pay this? And I was like, do you know what that does to your property value over time? You've lived here 10, 15 years. You have appreciated in value way more than that.
That's true.
It's a head scratcher why somebody would not want it. It's like, even if you don't use it, it's worth paying it. It was $60. It's cheap. I don't know how HOAs are out in California, but here in the Midwest, I mean, ours at 60 is dirt cheap.
Yeah,
there's some
that is dirt cheap.
There's some here that are, 2, 3, 4, 500 for the year that are dirt cheap. Ours are $60 per year, not even.
Yeah, we're about, one of the houses I own is like $135 a month, and there's a park in the area, but it's not gated and there's no pool or anything like that. That's just a basic, nice neighborhood. This house that we live in now, uh, we pay an HOA, but we don't get anything for it. But
That happens sometimes.
it happens. But I mean, we have a house that has a decent backyard, and we grow vegetables in the backyard. So I mean, it's worth it for us. It's great peace of mind. So
Absolutely. I will say one thing for HOAs, especially for those people who are interested in buying maybe their first home. Do your research. If a property has an HOA, don't take just your agent's word for it. Get the bylaws,
hmm
talk to the board, figure out what you can and can't do, because there may be restrictions on certain things that you can't do.
hmm
Fences, short-term rentals, uh, property conditions, certain things like that. We don't have too many around here that are too super restrictive,
hmm
but you'll see things that'll you know need certain plants or watercraft and things like that. Fences are a big one around here in some HOAs,
How
which
about
you can't
RVs?
put you in.
How about
RVs,
parking an
boats,
RV on the street?
you know, and they could vary drastically from what the city ordinances say or the county
Yes.
ordinances, because they may be fine with them as long as they're tucked behind a house or something. Your
hmm
HOA may say no,
Put it behind the
period.
fence, they
They
say.
may just say just period no, so you just got to really check and double check what you can do in certain things. So, but
And then also, you got to think, like we have people that purchase one property, get some equity, and what do you do with that equity? You call your realtor and you say, you know what? Maybe I can get investment property because this investment property can pay for my home that I live in. That's where your realtor is someone that you can go to your whole life. You got your kids, you got your grandkids, and you have different things in your life. You go to retire and you want to downsize. There's one time that you want to connect with your realtor. And you want to be loyal to your realtor because your realtor is loyal to you. They will take care of you. They will make sure that they make sure that you get the best deal out there. They know the loan programs. They know how 1031 exchange works. Um, that's a tax code to exchange one property, like kind property, for another like kind property. So you can save taxes that way. So just I won't go any further into
yeah, no,
taxes, but
you have a good point on the loyalty, because I have seen that personally. My mother's my business partner. She's been doing this for 30, probably 34 years now, and she has a lot of repeat clients, and her entire book of business is built on referrals
absolutely.
by doing things the right way, treating people like family, taking care of them, and she has had. I'm gonna have to ask her for sure. I know she's had children. I don't know if she's had a third generation come up and
Well,
buy a
that's
house with her
coming.
yet. I'm sure it's coming pretty soon. Um, depends on when the time works, but it's
Exactly.
awesome to kind of see that from her, and that loyalty really helps. I can tell you, I've got some past clients. When I got out of the military, I sold furniture for a year, and there's a guy I worked with. I'll just give him a
hmm
shout out. His name's Bob. If
Bob.
Bob happens to listen to this, Bob's like an older brother to me. Love that guy, and if he calls me, I want to take care of any client anyway.
Of
But
course.
when you have a connection like that, when they've bought multiple properties from you, you go way back, you have a connection, you squeeze them into the schedule. You
Yep.
make a way to really take care of them because they're like family,
Yep.
and that's the way I look at business is I hope that my clients come back to me so I can take care of them, because you already know the house, you already know the situation, you know them, their spouse, you know the kids. Like there's a lot of benefits. It's just like your family doctor. You don't just go change your doctor every single time you have a new ache or pain, right?
Exactly.
It's like, hey, I hurt my arm this week. I'm gonna go to this doctor, and next week I'm gonna go for my toe. You don't do that. You go to your attorney. Why? Because they know you and they know your situation.
hmm
You go to your CPA because they know your books. They know how
Exactly.
you operate your business, and we should be the same way. And unfortunately, sometimes we're not.
hmm
But that's how you should look at your realtor, as just another trusted partner.
Exactly. Because if you want us, we'll go through your whole life and be able to help you with whatever you need. I mean, sometimes it's, I hate to say it, we sometimes come into situations where someone's died, and you have to treat that with a very delicate manner and demeanor. And somebody that you don't know may come in and just like a hurricane, have no feeling about the situation. And like right now, I'm working with one of my wife's people in her work that she helped get some medical attention, and the mom died. And I just got a text a little while ago, and she's got to hold off because there's some lawsuit in the area from a fire that happened a couple years ago, the really big fire. So that has to go through that. And actually, actually, three people that I'm working with right now are heroes. I got a nurse, I got a police officer slash military, and I got another one that's a police officer. These are all moving out of town. They're heading towards you. No, they're not heading. One's heading to Atlanta. The other one is going to Texas. But you have to be sensitive to these things. When I deal with police officers, you have to be real sensitive with their time. You also have to be real sensitive what you say and how you say it. You have to be sensitive with not taking pictures of certain things, or not taking pictures of them,
Yeah, I've had
because
some cop clients before, and anything gun safes, if they've got a
hmm
wall with awards and decorations and stuff that they've honorably earned when military
hmm
service or law enforcement service, those are things that I've tried to cut out of the photo. You want to
exactly,
neutralize your photos online as much as possible so that you don't really know exactly who's living there.
exactly.
We have a trained eye. We can look at those MLS photos and kind of tell you a little bit about the people that are living there.
Well,
And in
we
enough
we could
people's houses, you get that sixth sense, I guess, about of who they might be. You pick up those context clues, I guess. But
we could walk up to somebody and probably tell. There's
you
a
know,
lot of police officers for some reason. I walk. I'll be talking to somebody, and I'll just be like in the back of my mind, oh, he's a police officer. He's a police officer.
cops
Sure
are
enough.
cops and firefighters are pretty easy to tell. And
Yes.
obviously, if you're still in the military, you've got the high and tight and clean shaven face, and there's
hmm
just certain things to tell. Vehicles,
Sheriffs
just
always have that high and tight.
but
Just like,
just yeah, they do.
yep.
But just walking through somebody's house, even if you don't know the person and you're out with the buyer and you walk into somebody's house, it's amazing what being in the military and being
hmm
around diverse people,
hmm
and then getting out and going to enough houses and meeting enough people throughout the course of your business that you just walk into houses and I could probably tell you in just about every house 4 or 5 things about whoever lives there
Exactly.
pretty quickly. You can
Oh
tell
yeah.
what they're into, their approximate age. And I mean, I don't want to get into fair housing kind of stuff, but you can tell sometimes, even maybe the race or religion of the person that lives there.
You can. You
And
can.
those things are really easy and quick to pick up. And there are
Exactly.
also pitfalls that you can fall
hmm
into as well, with fair housing, and
Yeah, you have to
that's
be
a whole
real
other topic.
cautious
But
about that. But I mean, fortunately, the hero program, that hometown hero program that I do, they're not considered protected classes. So I mean, when I deal with, and that's the majority of my clients. My majority of my clients are helping the heroes.
so California
Um,
doesn't have it. They don't have any state protected classes involved in that.
13. We have 13
13.
protected
I think there's
classes.
11 in Illinois off the top of my head, and I know one of them. I think one of them is military status. The other one is military discharge status,
Oh
if I
wow.
recall.
No, we
Yes.
don't have that. We have the protected classes that are just the general protected classes without going into it. There's six, and then they added another seven on top of that. um, but no, military service isn't one of them. Police, fire, nurses, teachers, none of them are considered protected classes. So generally, when, of course, I'm cautious about what I say, especially for any law enforcement, any of those people that are out there every day. I'm real cautious about what I say, what I do, and how I approach things. Because actually, it's kind of funny. This one that I went out today. I'll give you a real short story. I don't know what our timing. Um,
Oh, we're good.
um, was referred from an agent in another state that they were moving to. So she came through one of our back office or workplace office and asked for somebody that deals with. Um, Actually, she didn't say anything about the client. She just asked for somebody in that area. And then I contacted her and I said, she says, this is kind of a weird one. I can't really tell you about the person and what they do. And so I said, oh, they're a police officer. I said, you didn't have to say anything. This is what I do. This is every day I deal with police officers, fire, nonprofits, government agencies. Every day I deal with these. This is my bread and butter. This is who I love to care for, and who I give money in either credit. Actually, mostly credit, because even a seller, um, I kind of have to know what the house is going to sell for before I can say, okay, well, this you're going to get this money back. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so I'll say I get credit back to those that are out there every day for us fighting the good fight in our communities. So that was a referral, and they're going to another state, and they were very happy with the transaction. And I couldn't even put it on the MLS in the beginning. They wanted an exclusive, and we tried that, and unfortunately, exclusives are only good for the real estate agent. That's it. They're not good for the
I would agree
client.
with that for sure. Yes. It doesn't help at all. I mean, you're taking this broad potential view down to one or two people that know,
Exactly.
and that's
And
it. So
even and I mean you can only market if you get an exclusive listing. There are so many restrictions that you can't do. You can't put on any social media because having that sign precludes you from putting it onto social media. And a lot of our buyers and sellers are on social media. And if they saw that house, they would buy it. So it's word of mouth. It's brokerage connections, and you're losing 2 million realtors across the country that should have seen that property.
yeah,
So
that's why in our area it's normally used more as a I guess you say coming soon is kind of
mhm.
more or less what we have. So it's an opportunity for the agent to get their marketing materials, their videos, their pictures, drone shots, whatever you're going to do, and get that done. Get those back. Get them, whatever you got to do so your marketing materials ready to go day one.
Mhm.
And so I think our limit right now is 30
and
days. I think it was
yeah,
45,
that
but
yeah, that's ours, 30. And you can't, I mean, coming soon, you can't, no one can come in the house and see it. That's the challenge with coming soons, because you'll put a coming soon, and every agent wants to see it. And so I can't do it. It's against rules. You can't do that.
yeah,
It's
you're gonna
it,
get fines from the state. You're gonna get ethics complaints slaps against you. I mean, it's a mess. It's
it
a
it's supposed
it's
to
a
make it
minefield of problems.
it's supposed to make it better for everybody, the way it's done. Um, I don't know if I agree with that yet, but I mean it's still fairly new.
Yeah, it's pretty new in our area. We've only had it for a couple of years, and there's only a handful of people that use it, and they don't really use the coming soon for a week or two just to get their photos and videos done. It just kind of reserves the contract in their name,
Exactly.
so that they got the listing, and then it's just ready to go instead of the marketing material, which is good, right? If
And
you're
it has to be
if you're
done the
being
proper way.
paid if you're being paid to sell somebody's house, you better have that marketing material ready to go day one in this market because you only got 1 or 2 days if you did your job right.
Professional photos always. And I don't care that things are going off the shelf so quick right now. I still have professional photos done. I still have my photographer go out and do that because you never know if it's going to fall out. You never know if it's going to be one and done or if it's going to fall out, and you have to have those things there so that way other people could see it.
It also helps too, speaking within our industry as
Mhm.
agents, when you've taken the time to have, well, just photos in general, whether they're
Mhm.
professional or not, when you've
Exactly.
actually taken the time to take some photos of the house, even though you know that it's a hot market and a hot, maybe a hot house in a hot area, and it's
Mhm.
going to go in a couple of days, because
Mhm.
you know your area, you should know your area.
Exactly.
That helps 6 months down the road or 2 years down the road when you're looking at comparables.
That's
Because
true.
nothing frustrates me as an agent more when I'm looking for comparables, and there's certain pockets in my area where this happens more than others. I go look at comparables, and all I can see is the front of the house and the back of the house. Nothing on the inside.
Uh,
And it's like,
that irks
okay,
me.
now my clients, Mr. and Mrs. John Doe, I can't tell them what their house is really worth because all the comparables only have an exterior photo. I know what the inside of
Exactly.
their house condition is, but I don't know what the other ones were because somebody didn't take the effort to take at least 4 or 5 photos.
Mhm.
And it's so frustrating to me. But
And
that's,
it's
one of the
really
things we
bad
deal with.
for appraisers too, because how many
It's got to
calls
be a
do you
nightmare
get?
for them.
How many calls do you get saying, you sold this house on such and such and such? What's the condition of it is? I mean, was this say something sells under market? Was it a stress sale? Did somebody die? The appraisers have to know that in order to do a proper value. And also, for those watching, if you ever think about doing a for sale by owner, one thing you need to know when you do that, that your house or the house that the person's doing a for sale by owner cannot be used as a comp, cannot be used as a comparable. And this came from an appraiser in one of the clubhouse rooms. She said, for sale by owners hurt the community. Reasons being, they're not in MLS. They don't show up in the MLS as closed transactions. They can't be used as a comparable. So somebody that thinks they're going to save the money doing a for sale by owner, I mean, people have reasons for what they do, and sometimes they have to. However, remember that you're not doing your community any justice by doing that because that cannot be used as a comparable. And that came from an appraiser in Clubhouse that's been doing it for 30 years.
I had not heard that, but that's that's just another reason that you could just put on top of the stack for reasons not to for sale by owner. You
And
can't
safety.
properly market. It's
Hmm.
safety. Do you really know who you're coming in your home? Are they really qualified, or are they just a weirdo
Hmm.
creep that wants to come in and
And
whatever? Right?
and
I'll just
case
leave
your
that to the
place and
imagine.
steal your television.
All kinds of things can happen, and you, who's gonna do the contract? Who's gonna make sure all that happens?
Exactly.
Who knows the inspectors?
Exactly.
Especially if you're selling your home for sale by owner, and the buyer finds it like that, and nobody has representation.
Hmm.
That being in this industry is a nightmare.
That's a
I heard
big
something.
legal issue.
I heard something on a podcast many years ago. This guy was like a retired federal agent or something. And he had a podcast on like safety and scams and stuff. And it was
Hmm.
he quoted, and it might not have been an original to him, but cheap is expensive. And I think this is one of those situations where you're trying to go save some money.
Hmm.
And I've seen statistics before where something like 7 to 12 for sale by owners tend to sell their home for 7 to 12% less than the fair market value. So you're
Exactly.
already losing that money that you would pay an agent anyway. You're
Hmm.
under marketing. You're opening yourself up to potential safety hazards.
Hmm.
So why are you doing it?
Exactly.
Why?
What it
Why would you
comes
do that?
down, it's a penny full and pound foolish.
Yeah, and you do this to be cheap, and you're going to get yourself into a situation where now you're paying a lawyer to sort
Hmm.
the mess out. And they've got to
Exactly.
make multiple phone calls and figure this stuff out. It's one thing to pay an attorney, I don't know, $300, right, to do some paperwork for you and get something done. Let's just to throw a number out there. It's another to pay them, for 10 hours worth of work at $300 to fix the mess up.
And all you have to do if you want to sell your home, call me, call Keith. I'll do free open houses for you. I'll go in and do free open houses for you. You can only sell your house once. What are you doing with those buyers that are coming in that want a house and you've sold it to somebody else? What's happening with them? I'll do a free open houses. So at least you have a list of the people that are coming in. So if your insurance company says, that's another thing. Think about your insurance company. You're doing a for sale by owner. You're letting people in your house not qualified, or you don't know if they're qualified or not.
Well, how many times do you get a phone call from somebody who wants to go see houses and they're totally not qualified? You find out in 3 seconds the credit's not there, the job's not there, whatever.
Exactly.
I would say it's, for myself.
Especially on weekends, especially on holidays. Holiday weekends, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Yeah, that does.
Labor
happen.
Day, 4th
It's
of
like,
July.
I want to see this house. And it's like, do you have a pre-approval? Do you have proof of funds? Are you looking to pay cash? What are you trying to do? And we ask that question of people when they contact us because we want to know. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you're paying cash, well, that's one thing. If you have to go get an FHA loan or a VA loan, well, now we need to look at homes a little bit closer in the magnifying glass. We need to look at the conditions.
Exactly.
And because that piece of crap foreclosure down the street isn't going to qualify.
No.
It may be in the price range. It may look like a smoking deal, which it's not, because every home sells for what they're worth.
Yes.
Sometimes you might find one that sneaks below the radar, but those foreclosures, there's a reason it's dirt cheap. It's because it's going to take a lot of work to get it to average market condition. And yes, boy, I could go on
exactly.
On my soapbox, but
we're going through going through the rabbit hole.
It's all good.
I don't mind. I like talking to you.
Yeah,
it's fun.
This is awesome. I like I said, this is the first in-depth real estate conversation on the podcast, and as somebody who has two passions in this, we're hitting both of them here.
There you go.
Go on forever, but get back to my handful of questions I hear. So when you started,
yes,
what was the hardest thing for you when you began your career in real estate? Maybe the hardest thing to grasp or the hardest thing to deal with, whatever.
The hardest thing to deal with. Uneducated realtors. Really, because I was trained by the owner of the brokerage. When I first got my real estate license, I was trained by the person that owned the brokerage. So she taught me, go see houses every day, go pass out 5 to 10 business cards a day, and if you don't do those things, don't come to my class. So, she was a hard-nosed, hard driver, but she was very successful. So, as a new agent, absolutely, I'll do whatever you tell me to do because you're successful. I'm not yet, but I will be there. So, agents that don't understand how to pick up their phones. Pick up your phone.
Oh, how about when the voicemail box is full?
Full.
I still can't understand that one. You are a business owner.
How are you in business if your voicemail is full? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense, especially now.
In my head right now, I'm not gonna name drop in my local MLS, but I'm thinking of names that are just popping on top of my head right now. Their mailbox is always full. It's like, how are you supposed to get a message to them?
How are you supposed to get a message?
Those are the same people that never reply to text or email either. Isn't it funny and ironic?
Exactly. You're trying to schedule showings. Answer.
Or ask a simple question or who knows what. In this market, if it's a hot house, you might want to call the listing agent and say, hey, what do you got on the house, right? They may not tell you everything, but you can say right? There's certain people that are going to be more truthful, or you can I dig. Say it. New agents will tell you anything.
Yep. They will.
It's it's an unfair fight sometimes. If I know
It
I've got a new
is.
agent on the other end, and they're a listing agent or a buyer's agent, I know that I can twist that arm the way I want it.
Agents that don't have training in contracts drive me up the wall. Okay, you're gonna send me an FHA loan. Fine. Put the addendum in there.
Signed.
Don't make me have to say, I know you're a new agent. I'm gonna help you out here. Because I've done that. The
I've
things they
had
say, the things they do, it's very easy to say, okay, well, you're a new agent, and I'm not the type of person to take take advantage of you because you're a new agent. I want the real estate business to be great. I want the people in the real estate business to be great. I want people around us, the public, to think of realtors not as lawyers or car salesmen, or I want them to think, okay, these people are prepared to do this legal documentation with me. I don't want to have to come back and say, you forgot a form.
yeah. This forgetting a whole form is one thing. That's ridiculous.
Put it on a wrong
I will
contract
I
that's
will
expired. That's really crazy.
I have seen that before, and it was like because ours are normally released in January. Any
Hmm.
updates? I have seen one before that came through, and I was like, I immediately recognized. I'm like, this just looks off because there was a like 2 years
Hmm.
before that it was a big format change, and I'm like, where have I seen this? Is not right. And so I look it down to the bottom, and it was like 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, and I was like, what rock have you been hiding under that you don't know that the forms are brand new? Like, how do you still have printed ones from 4 years ago? I'm tech savvy, so I fill out all of mine online. They're all
Absolutely.
pre-filled electronically. If I have, and that's the benefit of knowing your buyer, right?
I even go and use Glide when I'm doing my AVID. I use Glide. That's a great product. It's you can take pictures while you're there of things that you're putting on your form. So not
That's
only do
interesting.
you,
I'll have to
yeah,
look at it. I've never heard of it,
it's
but I will
really
like
cool.
I will like pre-fill for a buyer, right? Because that's the benefit of working with an agent that knows you.
Exactly.
You know what loan type, you know what kind of things they're going to look for, and there's certain things that you just know your client's they're gonna want, right?
Hmm.
You're never going to know necessarily what closing date they're going to want, but you do know that it's owner occupied. You do know that it's financed. You know what type of
Hmm.
financing. You know all these different things. You know their address, their phone, so you can pre-fill all those, and
Hmm.
that's what I do. I have it pre-filled out, ready to go. All I
Absolutely.
got to do is throw in the address and throw in those particulars, and it makes it from a half hour, 45-minute phone call, walking them through it, to 15, 20 minutes. What are these 10, 15 questions I got? Boom, let me put it in, send it to you. You sign it, comes right back to me, and I forward it off. But it just blew my mind that that woman had. Yeah, I might have messed up just saying it was a woman. I guess it doesn't really matter too
It's
much.
okay.
But
It's all good.
it was like 3 or 4 years old. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But then I've had new agents who've had problems. I've had the same conversations where once you kind of realize that they're new and there's a problem, I've one in particular I can remember now, and I just kind of had a conversation on the phone, and she's kind of started breaking down. She goes, I know I'm just having a hard time working with this buyer, and they're kind of being in the pain in the butt, and this, that, and the other. And I was like, you know what, calm down and breathe.
Uh huh.
We're in this together, okay? This is not personal. I was like, you need to fix this stuff. You need to go to your broker, and you need to have them kind of walk you through these things. There's some things here that need to be addressed, because at the end of the day, I got to look out for my client too. So I want that contract completely filled out. I want it legible. I want
Yep.
to know exactly what we're getting. And she kind of thanked me afterwards, and eventually I had a conversation with her. I was like, I know you're new. I'm going to highly suggest that next year when it comes out to sign up for committees, that you sign up to be on the contracts committee. And I
Exactly.
said, I don't say that to be mean. I say that because that's where the conversations happen about what goes into the next revision. And I said, there are some people in that room that are really smart, been doing this for a long time. They've
Hmm.
seen the 15 other ways that if we've done it that didn't work. And they can sit there and they can tell you all about why those didn't work. And they can tell you why, a new suggestion isn't going to work. And I said, that's the greatest thing I ever did in my career is I realized when I got in, I not only learned from my mother, who had 25 years in the business at that time, but I realized if I volunteered at the local association and I
Hmm.
sat on those committees, I networked, which made me
Hmm.
made negotiations way easier when you know who you're dealing with on the other end, right? Like if we were it happened to be in the same area and we knew each other, it's something different to be. Hey Sam, my name's Keith with such and such company. I've got an offer for you. It's different when I pick up the phone and goes, Sam, hey, it's Keith. Man, I got a great offer for you. It's send it over. Take a look at it. Let me know what you think. Hey, how's the wife and the kids doing?
It's a
It makes a world of difference.
big difference. And I've had clients that we were going through things, and it's like, I know this agent, I know the brokerage, I know the lender they're using, I know that they are anal when it comes to getting their documentation done. This is a good offer. And maybe another offer was a better offer. However, I knew that this person would do what needed to be done in order to close the transaction. And I mean, sometimes if the client is like, yeah, I trust you and what you're doing, and if you say yes, yes, because who wants the headaches? Who wants the headaches?
Nobody wants the headaches. The clients don't want the headaches. We don't want the headaches. Title doesn't want the headaches. The lender
Nobody
definitely
wants
doesn't.
nobody wants the headaches.
I just had an epiphany that just makes so much sense because we've kind of talked why this career can make sense for veterans.
Hmm.
And I know it's a little different based on what branch you're in. But I was Air Force Security Forces, so we did some ground combat training. We did operations orders and stuff, and you know, not only do you have to be structured, but you have to know the full picture. And what's one thing you want to do in the military, right? You want good intelligence.
Yes.
You want to know exactly what you're up against. You want to know who all the parties involved are, all the particulars, all the statistics. You want everything you could possibly imagine data-wise on your side, so that you can go out and have a tactical advantage. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. You're negotiating. For your dream home, to buy or
Especially
sell,
with
whatever.
buyers. Especially with buyers now. I mean, have an agent that understands that this is the documentation. These are the things that in a normal market you ask for. Now, in a seller's market, either I'm going to pay for a home warranty, or they're just going to leave it out. They're going to leave it out of the contract, and we're gonna deal with it together. Because I don't have a problem paying for a home warranty for the year, because that $500-$600, whatever that is, could mean the difference between getting an offer accepted right now and not. I've received offers where the agent actually reduced their commission so that the seller can net more money in their pocket, which I thought it was genius. I thought it was great. Um, a lot of, I mean, there's some tricks out there that, since we're in the business every day, we see countless offers coming through. These tricks can help you get into a home that you love, because we're out there every day doing it. And that's what we do. That's
Yeah.
our love.
What has worked in this last year and a half, was not what necessarily worked a year and a half before
No.
that, and it may not work in the next year and a half.
No, it's constantly changing. It's a paradigm shift. Every time the market changes, it's the paradigm shift. But you have to be able to shift happens, we'll say. Shift happens.
Shift happens. It's
And
another good one,
it's
yeah.
yep, shift
Yep,
happens
it definitely
because
does. I mean, I've been doing this 8.5 years. You just see certain things. You see technology advance. You see the way we do business. You see buyers markets come and go, and sellers markets come and go, and it is what it is. And we
and
should
it's a
predict the
people
future, but
business. And it's a people business.
it's absolutely people
It's a
business.
people business. So if you don't like dealing with people, don't get into this business, because that's what you're dealing with. When it comes down to, you're dealing with people that have a need to buy or sell. You're dealing with people. And you have to be willing to take it as you're helping a family. You're helping somebody to get into their first home. You're helping somebody has a need or want, and sometimes it's a Well, most of the time it is a sensitive situation because it's buying your first house is an emotional decision, and selling a house is an emotional decision. And the reasons why you're doing those things could be emotional decisions. So we deal with people every day. I'm on different social media. I'm talking to agents all the way across the country because I want to know what's going on in New York because I'm in California. So, what happens, say, in the Midwest? What happens in New York? We could see trends coming across the country before they come to our states. And if
My
you,
area is really like that. We're so small that we see those trends in New York and LA and Chicago,
Mhm.
and then we know, say, it hasn't hit here yet, but like clockwork, give us
Yep,
6 months or a year, and we're gonna
we're
start seeing it in our
seeing,
market.
and right now we're seeing a little of a softening in California, and I heard in New York they're having a little bit of some challenges. Um, Not a bubble because everyone's like, when's the bubble coming? It's not. It's not.
Yeah, everything I've heard indicates that it's not, because we
However,
don't have the mortgage the mortgage issues. This issue is an inventory issue.
it's an inventory issue. So what's happening is you have right now what I say or what I've heard is buyer fatigue. There's a lot of buyers out there that are having buyer fatigue, and they're not going to waive appraisal contingencies, and they're not going, or they'll do something similar to that, like they'll say I'll pay 10,000 over appraised value or something reasonable. We've been getting 50,000 over appraised value, 80,000 over appraised value, some 100,000 over appraised value. Because when people go into those houses, they want those houses, and just walking into those houses, since the market is still moving, you're getting equity. You're building equity. And as long as you're keeping that house for longer than a certain period of time, you're going to make your money. I mean, it's money in the bank. And since we don't see anything really shifting right now when it comes to home values, are still going up. Um, if we had a more normal market, the home values would be going up, but they go up a little slower. Um, However, we're in a transition from summer to winter too. So there's a few things happening at the same time. You have people that are having buyer's fatigue, and it's understandable. I mean, it's hard to deal with buyers getting outbid 5, 6 times, no matter what you do. It's
That's
tough.
it's like standing in a ring with Mike Tyson and getting punched in the face 5 or 6 times in a row. I mean, how much you gonna take before you're like, look, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm gonna sit this out for a little bit until I heal up.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
you're just not gonna do it. And I would totally agree with that. There's a lot of buyer fatigue right now.
And we're coming
Just
into winter too.
and
So,
it's a dangerous game of gambling in some ways to pay,
mhm,
over appraised value or way over asking price, or make some of these concessions that you just don't want to make. It pains me when I'm working with the buyer and they don't even have enough money to get the inspections that they want.
oh,
In a normal market, right? Let's just say all the inspections they want cost $2,000, but they got $1,000 to their name and they're doing a zero down, and
exactly.
they're not going to be house poor going in the house with there, but they just don't have enough money to pay for all the inspections up front that they want.
Mhm.
Nothing pains me more than to see that, because
It's
it's like
yeah.
they're like, you know what? The whole home inspection makes sense. I'm going to get that, but I'm going to skip the fireplace and chimney inspection. You
Oh,
know what? That's a fire hazard. You know what I mean?
oh,
As an agent, I'm like, man, I really wish they could get that. It's like, and then I sit there and like, look, I understand your situation, but before you use it, I suggest you finally save up the money and get that done.
exactly.
But now is your opportunity to spend that money and get it inspected and ask for the seller to fix and assess issues with it.
Exactly.
And it's painful to kind of sit there. And I think if you sit in this business long enough, you have those clients where
Oh,
you just feel so bad. You try and get them the best deal you can. You can do what you can for them, but some people can't afford all those inspections, or they do something that's just kind of dangerous with their money,
yeah.
like pay 50,000 over appraised value. Is it going to
or
hurt you? I don't know. Maybe in the future it's going to hurt you. I don't know. But it's
my
maybe
crystal
you could have
ball,
waited.
my crystal ball is broken the last time I looked. It's broken.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it
But
work for a long time. Otherwise, I'd be a zillionaire.
yeah.
My
I
crystal
lost
ball is
mine.
broken.
Yeah, but you can see the signs of what could be potential in the future, and it kind of stings. But at the end of the day, it's whatever the client wants. As long as they're making an
Exactly.
educated decision. So,
And we're
but
there to educate them. And if I have a client that says, you know what, I'm not bidding over asking price, and that's fine. That's what you want to do. However, with that understanding that there's people coming in, and I'll call up the agents if somebody says, I'm not going over asking. I'd be like, Joe, above asking, how much? You know, you know it's going to be above asking. Sometimes
yeah,
they'll tell you how much, sometimes they won't, but at least you can go back to your client. Okay, I fished around and I found out, if you really want this house, you need to go above asking. I can't tell you how much because the agent didn't disclose that, and they're not required to. As a matter of fact, it's against ethics if they do. Um, but a lot of agents, unfortunately, don't understand the 17 articles of ethics.
no, they don't. I sit on the pro standards for our state, and I
So
was
you
just sitting
you and
there
I
this morning.
understand those.
I was just on a hearing panel this morning, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And sometimes you hear some doozies in there. You're just like, what
Oh yeah,
on earth?
yeah.
What were both these
You
parties thinking?
exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy sometimes, but yes, there's an opportunity cost that every buyer and seller needs to weigh on some of these things, right? Do you want to
True.
pay over asking price? That's fine. Okay, you have an increased chance of getting the house now, but you
True.
paid more for it. If you don't want to play that game, you're basically signing yourself up to get punched in the face multiple times again with rejections.
Hmm.
So, as long as you know the risk and reward, play the
True.
game. So, um,
And
it's
I
is what it
mean,
is.
we educate people by showing them, okay, this is the comps in your area. This is a house that just sold. This is what the listing price is. This is what it sold for. Another 50,000 to 70,000 above asking. Now, chances are it did not appraise. However, it did sell for this, but I can't tell you if it appraised. So you're going to go offer on this house. Look at this value. It is an appraised value. However, if the house before that didn't sell for that, so you may have a problem with an appraiser coming in saying, this is this is way too high for these houses in this neighborhood, and it can bite you.
Yeah, it
So
could
just
sting big.
it could
Yeah,
sting big,
especially
yeah.
those people paying 50 or 100,000 over. That
Hmm.
as long
Exactly.
as you're aware of the risk, right?
It's great. It's great for the sellers, especially sellers that are leaving California.
It's just like going to the casino and gambling. You know the house has the advantage, but if if you go in there and you lose $1,000, well, you knew it wasn't likely you were gonna come out with anything.
The house
I
always
mean,
wins.
the house always wins. So anyway, we'll get wrapping up here. But you mentioned before a hero program, so go ahead and
Yes.
outline a little bit what your hero program is and what it
Awesome.
does.
The Hero program it's called Hometown Heroes, and it is a program where I give back to nurses, police, firefighters, nonprofits, government agencies, veterans, and military. Um, 20% of my gross comes back to them when you use my services. Or actually, there's other agents across the country that are doing the same thing. So I have a big network of agents that give back. And some of them don't get involved in these programs. However, I call them and I tell them, I don't want to. We're allowed to get referral fees from other agents in other states. What I would rather have done is, okay, Keith, I'm sending you this veteran. I'm not asking for a referral fee. in your state, are you allowed to give credit back to that hero? And most agents will like, heck yeah, I'll do that. So the 20% gross comes back to them as a credit. And it makes a difference in a lot of people's lives. It makes a difference between being able to buy a house and not buy a house. Because out here, our average house is, say, $650,000. In my community, it's called Santa Clarita or Valencia. Um, about $650,000. If you take 20% of $650,000, that's a decent amount of money to get back as credit, which can help you if you're buying it, help you with the closing cost, or if you're selling, you just get the money back, which will offset whatever the listing fees are. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I've seen teachers that could get into houses that because of the closing costs. I mean, closing costs was really high, and I say, you know what, these are the closing costs. However, if you look at this 20% that's coming back from the price of the house, it will offset the closing cost. And as long as the loan allows you to get this money back, because some loans work different ways, and that
Are
just
you saying
depends on what
it's
loans.
20% of the
Of
value of
my
the home or
gross,
of your
of my
gross? Okay, yeah.
gross.
I
So
just
on
figured I'd
my
clarify
side,
that. I knew where it was going, but
yeah, on my side of the transaction, gross on my side of the transaction, because I can't give your money away to my client. So
yeah.
it's on my side of the transaction. So say, 3% of,
Hypothetical, all antitrust stuff here. We can
yes,
get that out of the
yes,
way.
it
A
is all
hypothetical,
hypothetical,
hypothetical numbers. Yes.
hypothetical. So you got a house that is $500,000 and closing costs are roughly 2%. So you break that down and you say, okay, well, 2% is your closing cost, and I'm giving 20% of the gross on my side of the transaction of 500,000. I don't have a calculator in front of me, so I could probably do it on my phone, but I don't want to do that right now. So roughly, I think that was 4,000. I think my client got $4,000 back.
That sounds about right off the top of the head. Yeah.
Yeah, roughly on a $500,000 house. But that $4,000 can offset that closing cost. I mean, it's a big deal, especially for somebody that's maybe a teacher that's not making a huge amount of money
Well, let's
unless they've
face it. Yeah.
been doing it for a long time.
I don't think even when teachers have been doing it long enough, they're still not making their worth.
Yeah, exactly. You got the police officers that are out there putting their lives on the line every day. That money, I mean, and it means a lot to them because they really appreciate somebody, you know, taking consideration of what they do and really appreciating that. I find that right there is just, people are just like, wow, thank you. I had no idea there was a program like this. I had no idea there were agents out there that were willing to give from their money, the money that they come in and feed their families. And I'm just like, absolutely. Why wouldn't somebody appreciate what you do when you do it every day and you're protecting? I had a I had a firefighter that saved me and my family from a huge rattlesnake in front of our house. They came, they cut the head off, they cut the tail off, they had to bury the mouth. So somebody didn't, if they put it in a trash can, somebody could have got bit by the fangs.
I
But
never would have thought of that.
but
Thank
it's a
goodness we don't have many rattlesnakes here in Central Illinois.
6 foot rattlesnake in front of my
Ooh.
garage, and good thing I wasn't on my phone because I looked down, I jumped back, and I closed my garage because it was like, oh no, you're not coming to my house.
Yeah, get that nope rope out of here.
Exactly.
Ain't nothing worse than a nope rope with fangs. So,
Exactly. So the
ooh,
the firefighter down the block from our house, my wife called, and they came and took care of it. That's what our first responders do. So anytime I can get back to what they do, it's a no-brainer for me. It's a no-brainer. And most of the agents I've asked about doing the same thing, even if they're not part of a program, they're like, absolutely. You're taking care of them, and you're not asking me for a referral fee. Absolutely, I'll do it. So
Yeah, I think especially if you're a buyer and you're looking to buy a home, ask those questions, because I don't think that's something that most people are ever going to really kind of think about to ask. But whether it's that program or other programs, there's a lot of people out there that are offering something. They're giving something back in some way, shape, or form.
and some people, some agents.
For me, it's a home warranty.
Oh, there you go.
We got a lot of older homes in our area, so I feel that there's a lot of value in giving a 1-year home warranty for a little bit of peace of mind in that first year to these mechanicals and all that stuff. Because I've seen pink furnaces from the 50s. Don't run into them very often. Pinks, avocado green.
Those are usually refrigerators.
Run into some of them. I mean, I've ran into some very antiquated mechanical systems in homes, and the last thing you want to do is to buy a home and 6 months later or a year later, because odds are it's going to probably happen in that first year, as old as they are, that thing is going to take a crap, and
usually
you're forking out $10,000 or $15,000 for a new furnace and air conditioning.
And usually it happens right after escrow closes. Your house knows. Your house knows when it closes, because I've lost a water heater right after escrow closes because I could prove, because I had an inspection, that water heater worked when we were in escrow. So
I've had furnaces, air conditionings, fridges, a couple of washers. I don't know if I had a dryer or a dishwasher not work yet, but yeah, those things happen. They happen within a couple of days.
It's crazy.
It's weird
how does the house know that it's been sold? But it does.
It does, but that's the value, of a home warranty.
Home warranty.
That's the value of a home inspection, so a general idea what that condition was when it was inspected.
And it's worth keeping it. And it's worth keeping that home warranty down the line, because your air conditioner, if your air conditioner breaks, that's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 it could cost you to get a new one. And it's they're only supposed to last about 12 years. So
yeah, when you look at the ages of things, home warranty, just throw a round figure out there, $500 a year.
Yep.
Yeah, they've got a lot of add-on things. You know how that goes. A million different add-on options for pools and spas and hot tubs and whatever. They all have their things. But let's just say $500 over that 10-year period. It's $5,000.
Yep.
It's probably going to cost you more than $5,000 for your furnace.
Mm-hmm.
Probably $4,000 or $5,000 for your air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Water heater to have a plumber come in. Just a cheap tank, 50-gallon tank one is going to be $600 or $700 just for the tank.
Oh yeah.
You're going to double that for labor. So when you start looking at these things, your water heaters, 12 to 15 years. I don't know on the tankless ones. I know the tanked ones are usually 6 or 12 years. I had one in my house. I believe this or not, 18 years. It was labeled.
Wow.
And when it went out, it had been in here for 18 years. And that is
wow. That is a miracle.
But your furnace, your furnace might last 30 years. Your air conditioning might last 15, 20. Your roof is only going to last 20, 25 years in my climate. All these things have a life expectancy. You're going to replace them at some point in time.
Exactly.
And so if you look at that roughly $5,000 for a 10-year period,
mm-hmm.
Are you likely to have to spend something? And your deductible is going to be, I don't know, 75 to 150 maybe, right? And they'll send a contractor out to examine it. And they'll fix it free of charge. Or if it's broken, guess what? You're getting a whole brand new one for that. $400,
exactly.
$500 a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it. In some cases, maybe it's not. But in a lot of cases, it can save you a lot of money, a lot of headache.
In general, it is worth it. New home builders, they offer the warranty for the first year. And if after that, you may not need,
You can maybe gamble for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
but
then you definitely want to think about doing that, because houses do fall apart, especially I hate to say the newer houses aren't made as well as older houses. They, for some reason, they just seem like they last longer. The craftsmanship's a little bit better when it comes to the way they built things.
There's
So
a long list of pros and cons.
yeah,
I tell people all the time, listen, I've got a brick ranch built in 1960. There's reasons I have that. I'm afraid of heights. So you're not going to catch me on a lot of roofs. But I'll get on my roof. That doesn't bother me. It's brick.
there you
It's
go.
low maintenance. That's what works for me.
Exactly.
I'm a low maintenance kind of guy.
There you go.
I personally love older Victorian or craftsman style homes. I love them. Love the character. Me personally, I don't want the expense of
No.
dimensional lumber,
Yeah, those are what 20 to
original hardwood
1920s,
floors.
1920s, 1918s.
And I'm in the Peoria, Illinois area, so we've got a lot of older homes. A lot of this
Yeah.
area was built between 1880 and 1920, 1930.
Oh
So,
yeah.
south side of Peoria, East Bluff. I mean, there's a lot of areas that are very, very old homes. And so you got the hardwood floor, the dimensional lumber, you got knob and tube wiring, you have very old plumbing, you have bathrooms that were converted into old closets because when it was built there was no indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
Those homes offer so much character. They're beautiful, but they don't have
Exactly.
closets. They don't have open floor plans like new homes do. But fire safety and stuff like that, right? I mean, you have the risk of the knob and tube, but
Yep.
they tend to burn slower. They tend to be a little bit safer homes.
Yeah.
The newer homes, they're just, the materials, they just catch fire faster. So
Exactly.
every decade, it seems like, has pros and cons, and you just got to figure out what works for you.
And for new homes, for those that are watching that want to get into new homes, there is an advantage to having your realtor with you on a new home. The first time you go into that development, or the first time you think about going into development, call your realtor because they work with the realtor. The realtor can also make sure in the process everything is going right. And the builder takes care of us, takes care of our fees. Um, it doesn't cost you anything out of pocket to use our services. So basically, it's free to have representation on your side in case something happens. So if you think about getting a new home from a new home builder, call Keith, call myself, whoever your favorite realtor is, call them and say, hey, there's some new home builders over here. I want to go look at those. Can you pencil me in? Because once you go there and you don't have representation, your realtor cannot come and help you if something goes ugly down the road. So make sure before you go to those new home builders, you get your favorite realtor with you. Um, we'll be glad to come in and help you, and we'll take the tour of the new home builders. We've probably seen them 5 million times ourselves, and we could probably tell you, you may or may not like this one. The one down the block is really nice, So that's part of what we do every day. We go and look
Yeah.
at new homes.
And
So
builders all have their own kind of unique styles and things,
exactly.
unique little things they tend to put in it. But that's a good point because you have the same hurdles buying a new home that you do with an existing home, but you have ones because it may still be under construction.
True.
You have a lot of other factors. You have a lot more customization in some cases that can go on. And so
And we'll tell you
finger on the pulse a little bit,
And we'll tell you tips and tricks on how to get a contractor to do things for you off books, we'll say. You go in and you watch it be built, and you get to meet the contractors, and pizza goes a long way, and other things. So,
Don't bribe them with beer because the craftsmanship might take a hit.
I wasn't gonna say that. I wasn't gonna say that, but
Yeah.
I mean, there are some really cool things that tips that your realtor could tell you when it comes to new home builders. Go there every day if you can, if you're in the area. If you're not, your realtor, I know Keith would, I know I would. I'd go take pictures of it, on a weekly basis if you want, if you're not in the area. So, there are things that we do. We go above the call of duty in a lot of ways. I mean, I've helped people. I've moved when I was younger. I've helped people move furniture. When it comes to staging, I'll move a couch, I'll move a sofa. I don't have a problem with that.
What's the craziest thing you've done for somebody then?
Oh God. I ordered U-Haul to come out. I got some people from the corner to come and help because they couldn't do that themselves. Um, what else have I done? I've done a lot. I've done a lot of stuff. I buy boxes for my clients, for my sellers and buyers. I'll buy boxes for them. I'll bring a package of boxes for them as a gift. That's it. It shows that you really care about what they're going through. The least amount of hassle they have to deal with, the better. They need boxes. They're going to need boxes somewhere in the process. Bring them boxes.
Yeah, because you should be friends. Well, maybe not should.
You
Be,
have to
but
have it. You have to
you may
have a
be.
relationship with them because you're going to be in a transaction at least 30 to 60 days with them. So you might as well enjoy working with them.
Yeah,
You
I
might as
like
well.
the box idea. I never thought about that, but I was just
Yeah,
saying
get them
most
boxes.
you're most likely going to connect at some point in time on either
Exactly.
Facebook or LinkedIn or something with them. So you're probably going to see them at some point in time put out something to their friends and family. Does anybody have boxes? I need boxes. I need Rubbermaid totes. I need this. I need packing tape. Like
And
you're going to
I've
see
and
it
I've given
like
boxes
clockwork.
to people in my neighborhood. I'll see something if I've done some moving or if I had somebody that moved and left me boxes. It's like, sure, come and get it. It's on the curb. Here are boxes because people need boxes. These are things that they're going to need. So if you think a little bit, realtors, if you think a little ahead, what are the stress points that your buyers and sellers are going to deal with in the future? What are the stress points? They need to move. Okay, so boxes. They need to turn on electricity. They need utilities. I have an app actually that I can actually share um, that actually does all the. It's through my brokerage, but I mean, I'm sure there's other apps that do it. Um,
Yeah, we've got access to one through our local MLS,
oh, there you
and
go.
it's really awesome. You just put in the client's information, and assuming yours kind of works the same way. You just put in the information, and it just sends them a message.
It sends them a message. It
So they
helps
don't have
them.
to get on their phone and be like, okay, who's my utility company and water and cable and internet and
Exactly. Solar. When they're looking for a solar, talk to your realtor. If you're thinking about getting solar, talk to your realtor because your realtor has connections with solar people. Think of us as your one-stop shop. Painting, solar, plumbing, um, ADT, or any of those security systems. Think of us as your one-stop shop. Lending. If you've had your house for a while and you haven't, you know, decided to refinance, right now it's a great time to refinance. Call Keith. He's got connections. I got connections. Call us.
yeah,
Think of
and
us more
different.
than just real estate because we have connections. We're the hub of a community, and you know the people we know could save you money, and if we trust them, they're going to take care of you. I mean, even automotive. I have automotive people that take care of my cars. And when people call or people go on Facebook and say, well, I got a Honda, I need somebody to work. I got a guy that's been here for 30, 40 years that, Kiwi Motors in Santa Clarita Valley, here's a plug, um, does an amazing job with Acuras and Hondas.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. That's all he does.
I've got family that message me every now and then. My sister will message me and be like, I need somebody to fix this. I need somebody to fix that. Who do you know? Or she'll
Exactly.
message me or she messages my mom, either way, and it's like, oh, don't worry, let me get into my database and let me. I got them all tagged in there
We
in different
are
categories. Let me think about this, right?
we
Because
are a hub. We are a hub of other services for you. So don't hesitate to call us. There's no such thing as stupid question. Um, if I
the
don't
stupid one
have
is the one that's not asked.
exactly, if I don't have the resource, I will find that resource. So always go to your realtor before you think about doing anything. So you don't have to go on Facebook. You don't have to go and look. all the different places. You don't have to waste that time. Use us. Use our resources. I've been in the business for 16 years. I got lots of connections with all sorts of companies and businesses that will take good care of you. Landscaping, things like that. And you don't want to be taken to the bank. There's people out there that will take you to the bank, and you don't want that, and we don't want that.
I've been in some houses after people have been taken to the bank, where things were left halfway done and whatever. But that's a really good point, especially because this is a podcast for the military and veteran audience. I want to say something to the military members
Absolutely.
who may be PCSing, because that's where that's really huge, Sam, is if you can't see the home in person and you're buying a new home or an existing home, whatever, your agent can go tour that home for you. They can take pictures. They can take videos. They can tell you what they see and feel.
I did Facebook Live.
Exactly.
Live in these homes.
It's too easy. But the connections too, right? If you're moving, because you're in California, I'm in Central Illinois. If you were moving to Central Illinois, I'd be more than happy to tell you that another shameless plug, Jumbo's Pizza here in Pekin is the best pizza in town, hands down. And I'm not just saying that because they're the best and they're veteran owned and Security Forces veteran owned. But
there you go.
They're delicious freaking pizza, right?
Exactly.
As realtors, we are connected very, very deeply to our local communities. I know all the best pizza places. Trust me, I got the data to prove it. Pizza places, burger joints, restaurants, mechanics, you name it. Everything you mentioned. We know all those different people in all these little communities. You're in a bigger area. I'm in a very pocketed, small communities, right? All the little diners, all the places you need to check out, the little orchards, the place where you can go buy your Christmas tree.
You come out here, you better come have Mexican food at La Cucina.
Yeah,
La Cucina,
absolutely.
right down the block from my house.
Sam,
family
reach out to
owned.
these people for some sponsorships in the podcast.
There we go.
in all seriousness, though, especially for those military members who are moving across state, across country, whatever, and you don't know that area, find yourself a good realtor that knows that area, that can be your eyes and ears. That makes that transaction, everything smoother. And we'll wrap this up, but don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Sam.
Absolutely.
If somebody's watching this, I'll have Sam's links and everything in the YouTube description. But reach out to us. Sam, go ahead and tell us where people can reach out to you at.
Oh, great. You can call me directly on my cell phone, 661-621-5340. My website, samsilverhomes.com is my website, and my hero website is samsheroes.com. Those are the best ways. You can also go, I have a it's called a 10K card, sam661.com, and all my links are on my 10K card. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you, Keith. Can't wait to talk to you on Clubhouse and tell everyone else.
I was just going to say it's another way they can reach you, right? You get
Clubhouse.
If you're not on Clubhouse, get on there, because I know yours because it sticks out, Sam661.
Yep. Sam661.com on Clubhouse.
He's the guy. So
And what we have veteran groups in Clubhouse. If you're a veteran and you need to connect for any reason, I've seen some amazing things happen on Clubhouse with veterans. I mean, people, somebody's homeless, and all of a sudden the alert goes out, and we have people that work for the VA, and we have people that are veteran reps that come out of the woodwork to help, because you deserve it. We can never thank you for your services. You deserve it, and keep connected to Keith and myself, and come to Clubhouse. Come to the Veterans Network, veteransnetwork.club. Go to veteransnetwork.club. It's a great website on resources for veterans. So stay connected with us. We're there for you. We want to help you, and do the buddy calls. Make sure you do your buddy calls. That we're losing. Unfortunately, we're losing. I think it's up to 27 soldiers a day because for some reason they fell through the cracks. It's very important. Get a hold of one of us. I mean, I'm always on social media somewhere. If I'm not on social media, my text me. I will find help for you. If there's a situation and you need help, I will find help for you. I've helped people that were sleeping under the bridge in my community. I'm part of what's called a veteran collaborative out here in the Santa Cruz Valley. It's meant for resources for veterans to so they're not alone.
Yeah, yeah, we gotta keep people from falling through the cracks. But
Absolutely.
yeah, when it comes to getting a hold of us, it's easy to find us as realtors and business owners.
Google us.
Our
Google
information
us.
is
I mean,
everywhere. That's the joy of running a business. You want to be found everywhere. So if you're doing
exactly.
your job right, you can find us anywhere.
Exactly.
So anyway, Sam, I appreciate it. As
I
always,
appreciate you as well.
I could definitely see some things happening in the future within real estate where we might need to reconnect on here and talk about things, because we hit some things market wise, and a year and a half from now, or who knows when that happens, the market shifts and we're looking at a different perspective. We might have to get back on here and do some more
We'll come
education.
and do
Yeah.
a buyer perspective when
Exactly.
there's more buyers than sellers.
Exactly. We'll put class in
I mean, we're
session
sellers
again.
more than buyers.
Whatever happens.
I had it backwards. Sorry.
Whatever happens. Yeah. When that market shifts, another class in session. How about that?
Absolutely. I'm
Alrighty.
in whenever you want me. I'm here.
Awesome. Alrighty. Well, hang out in the back here, and we'll play this final message here, and remind everybody to make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button, follow us, check those things out.